So what I want to do is I want to kind of address this question that we've got. It says, do you foresee one crypto becoming the standard and others eventually becoming non-existent, right? So for example, could Bitcoin, which is the number one right now, switch places with, for example, Ethereum, which is like the second, right? And what about the coins you hear about on the news all the time, like about Dogecoin and stuff like that? So let me kind of share my thoughts on this, because the reality is Bitcoin, in my opinion, is not really going anywhere. Bitcoin is a store of value, right? There are a lot of things that are used for utility purposes. Like gold is a great store of value, but you don't go up to 7-Eleven and get your coffee or your Slurpee and be like, I'd like to pay with this gold token, right? It's very hard to make divisible. You're not going to like chip a piece off and be like, you good with that, right? That's not really a thing. And really one of the problems that crypto solves, and specifically Bitcoin early on, was how do we take the intrinsic value of something like gold and make it divisible and make it all these different things, right? And that's really the development of the blockchain has led to that. But projects like Ethereum, projects like, well, we'll just start with that one because there's a bunch of other ones, obviously. There's over 8,000 now, different assets. And how are you supposed to figure this out, right? I think over time, what we've seen is Bitcoin has started with controlling the majority of the marketplace, right? It's 50, 60, 70% of the total market capitalization. If you took all of the money that's in crypto all together, it's started with mainly Bitcoin, 50, 60, 70%. And what we're going to see over time is that's slowly going to start to go down for the sole reason of some of these other projects will be developed enough and there will be a utility use case to make it really the better solution, right? It's the exact same reason that we don't use Visa for literally everything. Right? There's a MasterCard, there's an Amex, and people will use their Amex card over their Visa for a lot of reasons. Customer service, maybe it's points. There are legitimate reasons to use certain things. And some people don't even accept American Express, right? Or maybe I should say Diners Club, because now we're getting to the point to where pretty much everybody accepts everything. But this is really what I'm talking about. As Bitcoin comes down in the total market cap, it's not necessarily that it's losing traction. What's happening is more money is flowing into these other assets. And that's a really great thing, because Ethereum can bring a lot of value to the marketplace, right? There's a whole conversation that could be had about the pros and cons of literally every single crypto. Nothing is perfect. But there are a lot of great things with Ethereum that solve a lot of real world problems, right? During the last election, and this is not a political thing at all. This is just the conversation, right? There were people saying, some people said, hey, the ballots weren't counted correctly, and some people were saying, hey, they were counted correctly. The interesting thing is, this kind of technology, blockchain technology, solves this problem, right? When I can peg each vote to each individual and ensure that on an open platform that's completely transparent, that everybody's voting correctly, we're kind of good there, right? And there's a bunch of other real world use cases. For example, in real estate, for example. Right now, I'm relying on a title company to go and find all of these different title problems that might be going on with this house. And I'm trusting that they're doing it right. But because I'm like not going to give them all the trust, I'm going to buy what's called a title policy as insurance in case they're wrong. And that might cost me a couple $1,000s. But if there's a federal tax lien on that property for $1 million, guess who's responsible for it? Me, unless I had bought that insurance to offset that. When you have everything exposed on an open network ledger like the blockchain, then it becomes very easy to say, I don't need to buy the insurance. I see everything that's happened to every single piece of this property. And so it starts to simplify, and it really will drive down the prices of title work and title premiums and all that kind of stuff, right? So there's a lot of different utility cases. And I'll kind of throw in a third one just to be able to expand upon the conversation. There's a crypto called XRP, right? It's developed by a company called Ripple, and a lot of people love it. A lot of people hate it. But the reality is, the thing about Ripple that's really unique is they have a very interesting approach to cross-border payments, meaning me sending money to literally a different country, right? A lot of people say, yeah, but with crypto, it's really easy because I can send Bitcoin or Ethereum or anything I want to any other person without anyone's permission anywhere in the world, and I've solved the problem. And the answer is yes, that works on a one-to-one relationship, but you got to realize there are large companies who get lots of remittances in, and they've got to verify a lot of these transactions. And then on top of that, they've got to pay Lithuania and then France. And then like they have all of these compliance things they have to do. And one of the things that Ripple has done as kind of an approach to simply have a niche in the market is they're going to replace, I think, this is my opinion, but I think they're going to replace what's known as the Swift banking network, which is this ancient, complicated, long process to send money to another country, right? Very antiquated. It's been a problem for decades, but what else you gonna do? It's what we got. Well, crypto solves a lot of these problems, and XRP's approach is to say, hey, let's use this blockchain technology, let's use this crypto infrastructure to basically do what you want to do, but let's get away from all the older stuff. Let's get into something that has really low to no fees, and it can be instant, right? The best case scenario, right, is I send you money and within 10 seconds, you've got your money. That's like the best case scenario in any transaction, right? You want it to be as instant as possible. Well, with cross-border payments, it obviously becomes harder. So enough on that. Where I'm going with all that is that as these utility cases grow, they will grow in market cap. They will have more value. It doesn't necessarily take away from Bitcoin or from whatever else you invest in, but what it does is it might lower the numbers in the market cap. I do think over time that Ethereum will flip with Bitcoin and end up being the bigger one, right? And that will go on for a season until probably something else might have that, utility solution that changes everything, right? There's really no way to know until these companies go out and develop things. There are companies that have projects called like Dogecoin, right? Really big in the news. It's a meme coin. Elon Musk loves to tweet about it and nobody likes it. But the reality is Dogecoin was created as a joke, right? Its inherent value really is nothing, but they could develop it a lot, right? This is what's really fascinating about it is it's essentially a derivative of Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin was the original, and what happened is they said, I like all of Bitcoin except for this one piece. I'm going to strip off something, I'm going to take that one piece out, and now I'm going to have my own project, and we're going to call it Litecoin, for example. Then Litecoin, I like everything about Litecoin, but I don't like these couple of variables, so I'm going to strip it off, and I'm going to be called Lucky Coin. And then Lucky Coin became Dogecoin, and all of these coins still exist. But these are really just kind of I don't want to say knockoff. It's more of a derivative of those things. And each time one of those things happen, that's called a fork, right? And it's simply, if I have one Bitcoin and it forks to Litecoin, well, when that network transaction happens, I have one Bitcoin and I have one Litecoin now. So it's kind of a nice thing when a fork happens sometimes, as long as you believe in these two projects. And that has just continued and continued and continued, and it will continue to happen. But overall, over time, what we're going to see is a project like Ethereum, which has this really intelligent, smart contract-based technology that allows us to use the cryptography, but program in contractual things. Like you and I can have an agreement that says, if I do this, only then do you pay me, right? These variables can be plugged into a contract, and that contract can be put into the crypto sphere to ensure that both parties are, protected. There's nothing worse than paying for a service and then you never see it, right? Well, that would be very possible in crypto because all you got to say is, yeah, of course I'll perform it. Go ahead and send me the money over. You send the money and then you never hear from me again, right? And so how can we start to ensure a lot of these things? Ethereum has a lot of these variables already a part of their infrastructure. And because of that, what we saw in 2017 is there was these things called ICOs. It's like an IPO, right? When a stock launches, the initial public offering, this is the initial coin offering. And what we saw was a bunch of different companies taking an Ethereum product, stripping it off and creating their own things, right? And so the majority of these tiny little projects and these coins are Ethereum. They're based and built upon the Ethereum network. And so when you think about it, you have all these projects that really any one of them thrive. What ends up happening? Well, that means Ethereum has to thrive, right? And I think that's really what's going to eventually end up pushing it up is there's going to be so much more movement on that side outside of the traditional digital gold, which is known as Bitcoin, right? And I do also think over time, just like the internet boom, you're absolutely going to see a lot of these assets go to zero. A lot. In fact, just to give you an idea, you know, I run a small fund, and we invest in a lot of different coins. And one of the things that we invest in is really speculative assets that are very small, that have a potential of being something, but you have no idea, right? And 2 of those projects out of probably 30 no longer exist, right? Now, we're not going to go invest 30% of our money into these tiny projects. They're very asymmetric bets. You can put a little bit of money in them and they might have the potential of going really big, or they might go away, right? Just like the dot-com boom. If you were buying dot-coms or you were creating dot-coms in 97, 98, it's pretty hard to lose. But by 2000, 2001, I mean, there's only your Google, Facebook, you know, Yahoo. There is no AOL, I don't think, anymore, right? Like, a lot of those players got washed out, and then the I would say internet infrastructure just continued to mature and develop, right? We're gonna see the same thing in crypto.